breath.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Habit-Based Lifestyle and Business Show. Today, we're going to be talking with one of our clients, Corey Gray, who is a chiropractor in Missoula, Montana. And Corey, welcome to the show today.
Hey, thanks, Jesse. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, man. So, I wanted to bring you on to talk about, you're newer in the program. I think you've been in about 45 days. And I really wanted to bring you on and kind of talk a little bit about the results you've gotten so far. But before we do that, could you give everybody kind of a brief intro of who you are, kind of like what you've done, and then we'll kind of get more into that.
Well, sure. I'm 22 years a chiropractor now. In the last 12, I've been working with weight loss, aesthetics, anti-aging, health restoration, as well as chiropractic. And I got really successful for quite a while through the 20 teens. And my whole business kind of imploded around 2017, 2018. And then in the pandemic, my collections went to about 50% or less of what they were before.
Wow.
And all the marketing I've been doing just didn't work. I kept just dumping money into my marketing, 67,000 a year, 60 to 70,000 a year, and not getting my return where I used to be comfortable with that expenditure.
Yeah.
It worked. So I stopped marketing. During COVID, I just shut everything down. I said, I'm not going to spend the money because I don't know where it's going to come from. And I got some advice from a friend of mine last year that there's this thing I should try. And I turned him down and said, no, I'm not really comfortable with that idea. And he happened to be telling me about you.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings us to today. So is that enough background or do you want a little more?
Yeah. I mean, you could talk a little bit about, I know you said you've been in the industry 22 years.
Yeah.
What were maybe some of the things you were struggling with, prior to coming into HBL when it came to your business and marketing specifically?
Getting beyond old school marketing of, print ad, getting beyond word of mouth, getting beyond using TV, local newspapers, that kind of thing. Just finding a way to get the message out because, every year there's more and more people saturating the market. My little town, which are about 80,000 people now, we have more healthcare practitioners per capita than almost any other city in the country.
Wow.
So the competition's pretty high if you look at it outwardly. And if you're just relying on a shingle outside bringing business in, it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
So I was really struggling to keep myself busy. I used to be busier than I could be to where it was a detriment.
Right.
Because things worked. And all of a sudden we had a lot of free time and I was wasting a lot of time in the office. And I don't like doing that. And I didn't really see a way to fix it because I stuck to what used to work for like 2 extra years of just dumping money down a hole.
Yeah. What did that do to your mindset? Like, where was your mindset at, probably the last year before coming into the program?
Well, a quick backlog of that. The first 10 years of my practice, I worked in a family practice with my father.
Okay.
There was a real poverty mindset there. And I worked really hard to get out of that poverty mindset. And it took me a handful of years, but I completely escaped it, I thought.
Okay.
I was really confident, really comfortable, knew I could do pretty much anything in front of me. And all of a sudden, that poverty mindset started to creep back in. I started to worry about what things were going to cost. I started to double think things like, oh, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's a good decision to do that, rather than taking action and putting things in plans. I was fearful that it was going to cause me more harm.
Yeah.
And I was like that literally until a month ago.
Yeah. You were almost like that when you signed up for our program.
That's what I mean, a month ago. Right.
Yeah.
So in 2018 on, that was just building constantly because I didn't know where to turn. And, I had big expenses and all of a sudden nothing was working. It was very terrifying.
What do you think comes from that, man? Because I know a lot of people, they live in the procrastination. They live in the think about it. They live in kind of the fear-based thinking. And I think it can be a real thing, right? Because we can have old stories, old things kind of creep back in. And if we don't learn to deal with those, as an entrepreneur, like where did that keep you, man? The last 3-4 years, it sounds like.
Oh, it really just kept me in a stagnant position or going backwards. And I knew what I knew and I knew what I could do, but I didn't know how to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Someone walked in my door wanting my help. I didn't know how to get people to come looking for me or to ask me if I could help them. it was really a matter of just trying to adapt to the fact that I didn't know what I was doing anymore. And
Yeah.
having all my skills get a little bit dull on the edges.
Right. Okay. So, what, as you come into the program, obviously there's a little bit of time involved and how it takes place, but like, how did that go for you as you started to come into the program? Obviously you're excited, you start doing the work and you're like, oh my gosh, is this really going to work? Cause that's what we always wonder, right?
Yeah, I think, but there's a saying, you've heard this, I'm sure. And it's why testimonials are so great. We live and breathe through the experiences of others, right?
Yeah.
And you happen to have a really good friend of mine that worked with you. And I know he does the same exact things I do. We've done it together before in the past with other programs and been successful together. And all I had to do is see Dr. Gunny be successful. And I know if he can do it, I can do it. So it was like the moment I walked in the door, I was like, okay, I've got the discipline down. Just give me a recipe and give me direction and let me put that discipline into some form of work that's tangible. And
okay.
that I didn't have any hesitancy once we started.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So what has been the results, just kind of in the short time you've been in here? And you can be specific, obviously, like numbers wise, but
Sure.
And then we'll get into some other things.
Well, one of the things when you and I first spoke on the phone or messenger, whichever way we first spoke, was like, I don't use Facebook. The last time I put some on Facebook was a decade ago. The last picture I put on there was like of my son when he was 4 and he's turned 16 next week. Right. So I didn't put things on there. Other people might have posted and linked it, but I didn't use it. I had 170 some odd friends, most of whom are like high school associates and people I went to chiropractic college with and family.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I've got to go into this. So I'm completely ignorant and fresh. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do anyways.
And keep in mind, I was like terrified. I'm like, this guy's got the lowest amount of friends I've ever seen on a profile. So we're literally starting over at 0.
Yeah. So I just did what you told me to do. I said, I got to get 500 friends. You said, you can't really make this work until you get 500 friends. So I said, okay. And basically I wasn't busy at work. Remember, I was a little slow.
Yeah.
I just sat at my desk every morning when I wasn't with patients, every afternoon when I wasn't with patients, in the evening on my couch. And I just sat there and I just tried to add people, and took your advice of how to communicate with those people once they were adding me back, and started trying to be a little more active in this. And all of a sudden, I'm creeping up on 500 friends and I'm like, okay, now it's time to start putting in your system. Right. And it's pretty easy. I've been following the rules. I've been learning what to do. And I get to that point where I can put out my first ask posts and I start messaging people, and people are reaching out and asking me. They're like, hey, can you help me? And I'm like, well, they're looking for me. I'm not the one trying to hound them. I thought I was gonna have to bother people.
Yeah.
And from a specifics, just dollar wise, the very first ask post, obviously there's some people that I have some history with, but 2 of the 4 people I started working with right out of the box are strangers to me. Never knew them from anybody. I just added them as friends.
Right.
Here I am within 2 weeks of the first time I put an ask post out there to try to drive business to my office. And we've collected right around 15 grand just in that first effort of trying to get business based on this principle and protocol I've learned to follow. And, qualified patients, getting people in the door is one thing. Like we tried marketing through TikTok. I might've told you about that. And I would have 30 appointments established, bang, bang, bang. Everyone's excited. 1 person showed up, right? 3 people called and canceled. And the 1 person wasn't even qualified. So we have all this work for my staff and me, and it's a waste of time and money.
And the last one was a horse.
Oh, pretty much.
I'm just kidding.
And then here I get 4 people that come in the door and they all buy the product. And the 5th person that is a person I knew from years ago that was family or patients, and he lives in another state. He still might be buying it, but I haven't pushed him enough. But they come in, they buy, it's a high dollar ticket item. They're seeing value in it. They're excited. And I'm like, this is what it's supposed to be like. This is if I can get 60% conversion, I'm usually really happy. 60 or 70, I'm like, that's awesome. Well, here we're looking at 80, right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
And in the past, I would have said, well, if I have 80% conversion, I need to charge more.
Yeah, for sure.
I would have said that in the past. But right now, I'm like, I didn't charge a little bit. We charged a lot. So we average like $37.50 a person.
Okay.
2 to 3 months of work. And that's pretty exciting to see that and see that potential. And I know not every post is going to hit like that. But if I can do that 2 or 3 times a month and then build organically within my business and the referrals based on these people that are happy, well, it's kind of a no-brainer just to keep doing this.
Right. Yeah, for sure, man. So, we know the results you're getting quality people in your office. I mean, these are people that are willing to spend, around $4,000 per client. You're closing 80%. What has been an unexpected result of coming into the program that maybe you didn't think you were going to get?
So this will sound kind of dumb, but I actually kind of like doing the work.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be a real drag.
Okay.
And I like it, but I was like, hey, I actually feel like I'm doing something. I feel participatory. I don't feel like I'm fake or phony.
Right.
And I really feel it's a building relationships. And I think that's the biggest thing I can say that was takeaway. I like doing the work. Work's enjoyable, but it makes me a little outside my comfort zone, which is where you grow. Right? Yeah. So I think, does that answer your question well enough?
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, here's the thing that I'll say is I've seen in you in the last, 30 to 45 days, I've seen your confidence go through the roof in your presence. So like even getting on videos and stuff like that, you seem like a completely different guy in how you're showing up, which is great. I'm sure you're probably not gonna, be someone who's like, hey, look at me now. Like I'm amazing. Right. But like, that's probably the biggest thing I've noticed from you is just your confidence level, and you have a lot more clarity in your face and just your overall whole, demeanor. So.
Well, I appreciate that, because I kind of feel like the old me again. It kind of hurt for a while.
Maybe how about the new me, right? That's better than the old me.
Well, of course, new and improved.
So, yeah.
Model.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So let's talk about this thing, doing the work, because I know a lot of chiropractors might be listening to this. And I think one of the things that a lot of times people can tend to rely on maybe Facebook ads and kind of like, hey, come into my office for $39, $49. And then let me try to sell you on the $3,700 program we have, right? Which,
sure,
we've all kind of heard of that and done that, but like, what does it feel like to actually have control over your marketing and have a hand in it versus leaving it up to someone else to bring the leads in?
Well, I really like it, because I've always liked marketing that I can measure the ROI, and that I like, if I spent this much on this ad, this is how much I'm going to get back.
Mm-hmm.
And just doing a Facebook ad or a TikTok ad, you have no idea, because it's really hard to track what's a good lead, what's profitable, and there's so much just busyness and confusion around it. And the leads honestly aren't that good.
Yeah.
When you do that, because I've done those things, and I used to always market, mouth to mouth. You bring people in, we do dinner workshops, we do that kind of stuff, we do events at the office, but those are fine. But social media I'd avoided honestly entirely until a year ago. And then I started doing this Facebook ads and those kind of things, and they work to keep the doors open. They work.
Yeah.
But they don't put your kids through school. They don't pay your house off. You don't, they don't do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Because now I can weave my way through potential clients, friends on Facebook, and you can actually start to see, well, these are the type of people I want to bring into the practice, and you build the practice the way you want it, not just hoping you'll get those people, but you start reaching out and you find them. And that builds a more qualified lead. You start having people that come into your office with the proper expectations. And that's a good feeling.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. What's been a mindset shift for you since coming in here? I know, you and I talked a little bit before getting on this call, but like, what's been a mindset shift for you since joining, this program?
I think the best statement, and I might have said it to you before, was I took a long time to get out of a poverty mindset. And I really enjoy living without a poverty mindset. It's a very free way of feeling. And that's actually what's coming back already. It's just leaving me quickly because I've spent better part of a decade getting rid of it. And then it came back, right?
Yeah.
And getting rid of that poverty mindset where you're not shortchanging yourself, your service, or your expectations, even for your clients or patients. And the moment that disappears, I start raising expectations and looking more to the future. And I think I told you this. I acted on an event I was at this weekend to add something else to my office that's a really high ticket dollar item that it's a lot of cash I put out. And a month ago, I would not have done it. I guarantee you, I would have just, nope, I'm not even going to go to the event because I can't do it. That would have been how I. And now I looked at this and I couldn't wait to spend the money because I know how much it's going to help my practice. And I'm totally excited to be working again versus just surviving a little bit. And I thought it was done with that survival feeling, but it came back, and I like to keep it away now.
Yeah. I mean, what I kind of hear is a resurgence of you, into your business. Like you're breaking off kind of the old mindset that maybe, we can all get stuck in it. We can all get stuck in a scarcity, poverty mindset. Especially when we get comfortable with making that decision of procrastinating. Once we get comfortable procrastinating, like that's a really tough place to get out of, and I think it's a place that a lot of people live, but they don't really talk about it. So, the fact that you're bringing it up, what that usually tells me is when someone's willing to talk about it, then they're willing to step through to the other side of it. And so I think that's really cool, is like, if you want to be free of something, you got to talk about what kept you from having that freedom. Once you're able to do that, now you're able to get on the other side of it. So
well, for sure. Cause you don't open and run your own business to not feel like you're at the helm.
Yeah.
And for a few years, I didn't feel like I was controlling the ship anymore.
Yeah.
I was just trying to keep it from hitting icebergs. That's about all I did for 2 years.
Wow. And for people listening to this, prior to starting with us, you pretty much hadn't been doing any sales whatsoever towards weight loss, correct?
Well, I stopped marketing for it during COVID, and I maybe had 5 weight loss patients last year.
Okay. The whole year.
Yeah. Where I used to, it's like 25 a month was my average before that.
Wow. Okay.
And we went from that to maybe like 17 a month to like nothing.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, I had zero weight loss presence as far as putting myself out in the community, advertising, marketing, and bringing people in, unless they just happen to see online and a review or they'd come in.
Sure. Well, let me ask you a little bit about the support and, accountability and coaching. Like, how's that helped you kind of on a week-to-week basis with, the HBL staff and the HBL, program?
Well, the HBL staff has been great. Initially, it was a little bit weird because I talked to you, I talked to the primary person I'm working with, Nick, and then there's these people coming out of the woodwork sending me messages and talking about, I don't even know who you are. I'm like, is this a person with Jesse or is this somebody else? I don't really know. So I had to go figure out who they were, but they're the staff. They're reaching out. Is there anything you need help with? I'm here to help you. If you're struggling with something, I want to give you a hand. I love all the number of calls you have and the recommendations I was given to which calls to get on to first and which ones I could ignore for a while until I started figuring it out. And the staff has been great and the support has been great. And I'll send you a message. Like, I've got an ask post I put out the other week and I'm like, what do you think of this? You're like, it's terrible. Fix it. This. And I'm like, oh, that's better. And then, because I'm not tech savvy when it comes to computers, you're like, stop trying to do it on a computer, use your phone. You can get more characters. It's like, oh, that works great. Right. So that type of help, not a day or two from now, but like, I kind of need this help today.
Right.
Someone will get back to me, which is great.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I appreciate that. Well, what would you tell someone who's on the fence? Maybe they're procrastinating, maybe they're thinking about it. Like, what would you tell them? Or maybe they have the fear of investing in themselves to get into this program. What would you tell them?
Well, I basically am going to pay for the program the first month of being involved in making the program work, I feel like you get your money back immediately if you put the effort in.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's very simple. It's so simple. I'm amazed it works. Right. It's just I love direction. I was an athlete. I like being coached. I like following a plan. And if the plan's working, you just want to reinvest yourself more in it. It's easy to do, and get off the fence if you are on the fence. And if you're worried about the amount of money it costs, don't worry. You'll get the money back if you put the work in.
Right.
It's just like a weight loss patient, right? If they put the work in, they're going to get great results. Guaranteed.
Right.
If they do what we teach them. Or a chiropractic patient, if they do the work, they'll get better. Same thing with this. If you just put in the work, people want to come and see you. People want what you have to offer. That
Right.
they see what you have to offer. They don't know who you are.
Yeah. I mean, the old, what's the old analogy? The only diet that doesn't work is the one you don't follow.
Pretty much.
So yeah. That's one of my favorites. So well, hey man, I really appreciate you coming on today. I super excited for you, not only for what you've done just in the short time you've been here, but actually, you know, what's cool for me is to see the transformation you've made just in how you show up in conversation from the very first call to now. And then knowing that you've, you know, reinvested in some other things that you're bringing in. And I think you're going to have a big breakthrough, man, over the next, you know, 4 or 5 months of being in here and really doubling down on you and the results you're getting.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I appreciate what you're doing. And I appreciate Gunny for telling me about you, but not kicking me hard enough last year to do the work earlier. So I missed out on a lot of time, but, you know, maybe it wasn't the right time.
Yeah,
So,
it's all good, man. Well, hey,
yeah.
Thank you so much for being on, and we appreciate you, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, Jesse. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.